Britain's economy will shrink by 0.4% in 2023, more than any other in the G7 group of the world's richest nations, according to the OECD. As Henry Ridgwell reports from London, analysts say that global economic pressures have been compounded by recent political chaos.
The Gray family is getting ready for Christmas. The children are growing more excited by the day, but Mother Hayley is struggling.
I'm having to make sure I've got money for gas and electric. I ain't going to be able to do it. They're going to have hardly anything come Christmas.
Worries that are being felt across Britain. Living standards over the next 2 years are forecast to fall by the biggest amount since records began in 1956. Charity food banks are seeing unprecedented demand.
It used to be that those were people on the margins of society who couldn't access a kitchen, homeless people who needed that support. Now it's people in work, it's people who can't afford to turn on their cookers who are needing support.
The pain is likely to get worse, with new tax hikes and spending cuts on the way. The government blames the coronavirus and Russia.
The lasting impact on supply chains has made goods more expensive and fueled inflation, and this has been worsened by a made-in-Russia energy crisis.
Those crises are global, but Britain has unique problems, says analyst John Kampfner.
They are compounded in Britain by a series of ideologically driven governments whose competence was very much open to question, culminating in the disastrous 45 days of Liz Truss.
Former Prime Minister Liz Truss's plans to slash taxes and raise spending sent borrowing costs soaring and the pound plummeting, ultimately forcing her to resign last month. The effects are still being felt. For the first time since records began, Paris last week overtook London as Europe's biggest stock market. Analysts say Britain has other homemade problems. Britain's vote to leave the European Union brought new trade barriers. Overnight, cheesemaker Simon Spurrell lost $285,000 worth of European business. This year, he decided to sell his company to a bigger rival with access to the European market.
We no longer have access to the EU. Meant that we needed to actually try and find a solution.
It's clear that Brexit is holding back growth, says Kampfner.
It was camouflaged by the pandemic in 2020 and 2021. So the direct consequences of many of the Brexit decisions couldn't be discerned. They are now eventually, belatedly being seen.
Prime Minister Sunak this week insisted Brexit can be a success.
I voted for Brexit. I believe in Brexit. And I know that Brexit can deliver, and is already delivering, enormous benefits and opportunities for the country.
The government says economic belt tightening now will mean a shorter recession. But for millions of Britons, Christmas cheer will be muted, and the coming years will be tough. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.